So 36 is, it's on the calculator section, so do keep that in mind, but we actually don't need a calculator for this one at all. What we do need is a little bit of knowledge of our trig ratios. Now, this question is a little more complicated than just your basic, like, trig SOHCAHTOA question. So it says, some information here, and I'm sure you can tell from the picture, you have this weird picture of, like, two mama-baby triangles, right? You got the little baby triangle and the mama triangle. So usually what happens on these questions, at some point I draw them separately, because otherwise I got a hot mess going on in my paper. And y'all know what my drawings look like, so it's always a beautiful, beautiful moment. So when I look at the first clue in this section, oh, Pen, you gotta work. No. Time out. Alright, so our first clue, now that I'm working, says that the tangent of angle B is a ratio of 3/4. So this is angle B right here. And who remembers the ratio formula for tangent? It is opposite over adjacent. So the problem here is you got baby triangle and mama triangle, and they both would have the same tangent ratio, but that does not mean that their legs are 3 and 4 respectively in any way. For instance, this leg could be 3 and this leg could be 4, but what else could these legs be? 6/8, could be 9/12, could be all sorts of things. It's just that the ratio reduced to 3/4. So I don't think I'm really ready to talk about that yet. We'll come back to that clue. It does say that BC, which is the large mama hypotenuse, is 15. Okay? So that's kind of helpful because that's part of our tangent ratio, right? Can you guys help me out with this? If the tangent of B is supposed to be 3/4, and I look at the mama triangle, that would be like mystery thing over, oh, Abruzzo, that's not tangent. What are you doing? Stop. That's a hypotenuse. John, you cursed me with the hypotenuse talk. Guys, 15 is a hypotenuse. Why are you letting me do stupid stuff? Okay, this is opposite. This is adjacent. What am I doing? Okay, well, we just got a much more exciting question all of a sudden, guys. Here we go. DA. Oh boy. This little random piece on this triangle, which isn't even like a whole part of a triangle, is 4. We're supposed to figure out what this is. Alright guys, let's talk. If I look at the little baby triangle, this guy right here, and I kind of really awkwardly draw him off to the side here. This would be D, this would be E. And we discussed that we're thinking this could be 3/4, now that I remember what tangent looks like. I keep doing the wrong thing. Except I don't think that's true, because look at the picture here, guys. If this is 4 units, could this be 4 units? No, this is going to have to be much larger than 4 units. So that's not going to be the case. There's a clue I'm missing somewhere. Oh, yeah, the clue that I kept ignoring. Let's go back and look at that, guys. This is 15. If your legs over here are in a relationship of 3, 4, do you remember what the hypotenuse has to be a family of? 5. That's called a Pythagorean triple. Okay? So Pythagorean triples are like 3, 4, 5. Oh gosh, what's the other one? 5, 12, 13, 7, 24, 25. You don't really have to memorize all of them, but the 3, 4, 5 triangle shows up a lot on these tests if they're going to show up at all. Okay, Pen, you're going to do this to me? Don't do it. So I think we have definitely a 3, 4, 5. The mama triangle has been what, though? Can you tell what the mama triangle has been? If this is supposed to be a family of 5, it's been tripled. So this side right here was supposed to be in the family of 4, but you guys just told me mama got tripled. So how big would that leg be? If it's 4, but it's been tripled, 12. And guys, if this is 4 units, and the whole thing is 12 units, how big is this guy? 8 units. Cool. I think we're on a roll. Baby triangle. This guy right here, 8. He's been doubled. Can you tell? So they want to know how big this leg is. 6. The answer is 6. Now, I gave a few warnings on previous SAT study sessions where we talked about geometry pictures, and sometimes they even go through the moment of, like, they expressly say the picture may not be drawn to scale, but the picture is generally pretty darn drawn to scale. So if you're just flat out guessing because you're stuck on a question, just make a good educated guess based on the size of the picture relative to the other pieces that you do know, and just kind of be done. I think that one, with a little more muscle and time, you could have got through it. That would have been one where if you were a little fuzzy on your trig ratios, you would be stuck, but you would fill in a bubble guess, and hopefully you had time to come back and investigate it further. The likelihood of you having another question like that on your SAT test is slim to none. But the ratios for sine, cosine, and tangent, or even secant, cosecant, and cotangent, are very likely to come up. So my Algebra 2 kids right now, you haven't really seen secant, cosecant, and cotangent. They're just the reciprocals of them, and you won't see them before your SAT test. So if you run into those, you're just going to have to make a guess and move on, okay? But pre-calc, you're all over that. All right, so we are still on our gridded response section, and I'm pretty sure in pre-calc we've already done this question, and actually I think in Algebra 2 in my classes we've done this question as well. So if you've already seen it, don't spoil it for everybody else. We have a chart, a table of a whole bunch of information. They have 20 contestants they were asked like trivia questions, and they were scoring 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0 points every time they were asked a question. And this happened for 3 days. So the first question says, what was the mean score from day 1? So here's all the information from day 1, and there's 20 contestants. We already knew that. And we're supposed to find the mean. So first issue is a vocabulary issue. What does mean mean? It's the average. So you're supposed to add up all of the scores and divide by how many contestants you have. But here's the problem. A lot of kids think these are the scores. These are not the scores. This is how many people scored those scores. So like for instance, 2 people scored a 5. So 2 people scored a 5, 3 people scored a 4, 4 people scored a 3, 6 people scored a 2. Yes, this was on that Saturday test. Yeah, 2 people scored a 1. And you're like, and I didn't get it right? That's usually what people tell me, because they just average these. Yeah, which is what most people do. Was this one of the last questions you did? Because you did the multiple choice first? Yeah, and you had very little energy, right? Yep. And the fact that they're not multiple choice is like extra draining. So the fact that kids leave it to the end is one of the worst things you can do for just energy, like general morale. Yes. And like think about, the big test when you've also taken a reading test and writing test before it. Well, language test before this. You still have an essay after this, of course, but I mean, this is the big shebang at the end, so yeah. Can you guys add this up? I think it's 48, but okay, cool. So there's 20 contestants, so 48 divided by 20 is 2.4. Ah, yes, I was just about to guess a 2.4. Yeah, that's why we don't leave these to the end, for morale, and also they're really hard to guess on. So same chart of data. And I love this question because we literally just covered this topic in both pre-calc and in Algebra 2. It's a conditional probability question. So it says, as I read it, what's the probability that a contestant scored a 5 on day 2 or 3, given that the contestant received a score of 5 on one of the 3 days? So when I go back to look at my data, I need to get out my scribbles. That's why they use pencil on this test, huh? And I'm going to highlight the data that represents all the people who scored a 5 somewhere. So my people who scored a 5 on one of the days would be these people right here. So what's going to be my denominator for this probability question if it's only out of those people? 7, good. So out of those 7 people who scored a 5, how many of them scored a 5 on day 2 or day 3? Well, I got to flip back. So here's day 2 and day 3. How many people scored a 5? 5, yes. So as far as bubbling in, I literally would bubble in 5/7. It will accept 0.714. They wrote down explicitly on their answer key. But I just feel like, why would you do that? Just write it as a fraction. That's my motto. All right, so then we turn the page and we're like, oh goodness, that's the end. But not for us, because remember, we skipped all those other ones. So back to number 1. But remember, this is a good morale boost right now, Because doesn't number 1 mean we're probably going to see something amazing and easy for a while? I hope, because I'm pretty drained already and it just started. All right, a chart of data. Have you noticed they love charts and tables? I'm a big fan of charts and tables, yeah. They like to organize their data this way, which for a math person I appreciate, because like I don't really like to read for information in like a text format, but in a table I'm okay, because I know the titles are important and the axes are important. All right, so this table shows the kinds of food that are fed to cats and dogs. Cool. What fraction of the dogs are fed only dry food? So just looking at dogs, how many are fed dry food? 2 out of 25. Yes. Is it B? I hope it's B. What? Well, this is the exact question. This is your practice test. I stole it. You should be having some major deja vu, those of you who, you're like, wow, they repeat. Wouldn't that be nice if we just took all the practice tests and then you guys showed up on Tuesday and you're like, this is a question straight off of practice test 5. That'd be awesome, but that's not going to happen. I wish. Now, similarities for sure. There's like those system questions. You're going to see 3 or 4 systems. They're going to show up. One's going to be a word problem. One's going to be a quadratic. The other 2 are going to be boring. One of them will probably be substitution. Like, that's very predictable. But is it going to look exact? Are you going to see the cat food question? God, I hope not. Because that'd be really lame if they give the exact same question from 2 years ago. All right, which of the following expressions is equivalent? So basically, they want you to simplify. This should be a really easy question, right? But take an extra moment to make sure you haven't done those like horrible things that kids do in math, which is like they don't distribute properly. So this subtraction sign gets distributed. I would take the time to rewrite it, guys. I don't think it's worth your energy to skip steps here. X squared minus 3. This is now a plus 3x squared. And then a minus 5. So I'm looking for like terms. Let's collect our x squared terms. So it's 4x squared, so not you or you. And then minus 3 minus 5 is a minus 8. The answer is A. Cool. Moving on. Number 3. Which of the following ordered pairs satisfies that inequality? Oh no, that's the wrong question, Abuja. That's 5. Beep, 3. A certain package requires 3 centimeters of tape to be closed securely. What is the maximum number of packages that this type of tape? Oh, 6 meters. Okay, so they want me to convert 6 meters. Go ahead and convert that to centimeters for me. So that would be 600, right? And I'm going to need 3 centimeters to close the package. And we are on the calculator section, right? Which I know you're like, well, I should probably be able to do this in my head. And I agree with you guys, but remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So if it makes you feel happy to type this in your calculator, you go ahead. The answer is 200. No, there's not going to be a math teacher staring over your shoulder giving you evil eyes because you typed 600 divided by 3 into your calculator, okay? We're trying to conserve our energy and not stress ourselves out at this point. So you type whatever you want to type on that calculator. I know it's funny, the messages your math teacher gives you in math class is very different than your math teacher gives you during SAT prep. I'm all about being lazy, 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 lazy. But don't copy. That's too far on the extreme, okay? Don't look at your neighbor's paper. That's an automatic dismissal. I'm sure you all knew that. All right, number 4, a market researcher. Oh, pre-calc. We've already done this question, I think. Actually, algebra 2, I think we've done this question too, so don't spoil it. A market researcher selected 200 people at random who indicated that they liked a certain book. So you have to pay very careful attention to the population and the sample that they're surveying from. So they're only talking to people who like a book, a very specific book. And then they went and took those people, they showed them a movie based on the book, and those people, 95% of them did not like the movie. So really focus on who your population is here, and let's read which one can be appropriately drawn. Now be careful. I've noticed what they've been doing lately is at the end of the question, instead of saying which of the following is appropriate, they'll say which of the following is not appropriate. They flip ya. So then, like me, because I don't read very carefully sometimes, I don't bother reading that carefully, and the very first one that's appropriate, I bubble in, and yeah, I'm wrong. So be careful. But this one, however, it is which one's appropriate. So is it okay to say 95% of people who go to the movies will dislike this movie? That's not appropriate. Because people who go to see movies has nothing to do with our initial population that we are looking at. At least 95% of people who read books will dislike this movie. I don't think that's appropriate either. Because these people, it's not that they read books, it's that they liked this particular book, right? That's the issue. Most people who dislike this book will like the movie versus most people who like this book will dislike the movie. So what was true for our population sample? It was that they liked the book and they disliked the movie. This is our answer right there. So that was just that was like a read carefully question. But the heart of that question is, are you reading carefully and are you paying attention to who your sample and population are? All right, my least favorite things, the 1, 2, 3 questions. They want to know which of the following inequalities, which ordered pair satisfies this inequality. So basically, if you were to graph this, is the ordered pair 1, 1, 2, 5, and 3, 2, are they in the region that's graphed? So you have a choice. Actually, you have 3 options. You can plug in the ordered pairs, right? Because like this is x, y, and you can see if they're true one at a time. And actually, guys, that's the quickest way to do this question. The other option is you can graph this inequality by hand. You'd have to get it in slope-intercept form and then shade and figure all that out. Or you could graph it on your calculator. Did you guys know your calculator can do inequalities? I'll show you real quick just in case you need it on your test. But, where are you at, calculator? You do have to get it in slope-intercept form. So while I'm pulling this up, can you guys quickly rearrange it into y equals form? So you're going to have to subtract the 5x and divide by 3. What happens when, -3, what happens when you divide by a negative, though, in an inequality? You flip that inequality around, right? Apparently I showed another group this little secret. Okay. So, I forgot what the question was. So you subtracted 5 and divided by -3, so your slope came out to a 5/3 x, and then -4/3 for the y-intercept. And then the way you change it from an equation to an inequality is you go over to the left side where the color options are, and you open up that menu, and then where it says line, you have some options. So like if you scroll through your options, you can do a different type of line, but when the triangles show up, what do you think that triangle means? If it's above, that's a greater than symbol. And because you guys divided by a negative, it did flip it to a greater than, right? So I would say, okay. And then when I graph in a standard window, ooh, isn't that pretty? So then I look at and I go, 1, 1. Yep. 2, 5. Yep. 3, 2 is a little difficult for me to tell, so I'm going to go trace 3. It's on the line. Is that going to work? Nope, because there's no equal to symbol, right? So 3, 2 does not work, but the first 2 do. So your option that is correct is choice C. Like I was saying earlier in the problem, though, that actually was not the fastest way to do the question because you had to manipulate it and then you had to go do some technological stuff. It was easier just to plug in xy, 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 and see if it was true or false, and then cross them off that way. So when you went to go plug in this one, 3 times, whoops, I don't know what I'm doing. 3 times 5 minus 3 times 2, is it less than 4? So that would be 15 minus, wait, I screwed something up. Did we screw something up? Huh? Oh, it is okay? Did I screw something up on the graphing then? Did I have the wrong line? No? We're okay? Alright. Whatever. Either way, 15 minus 6 is not less than 4, is it? No. So we would have quickly crossed that one off, and when we checked these two, they would have worked. 3 times 5 times 3, 15. I don't know. I feel like I messed something really bad up there. It's okay. I've messed something up every day, so it's par for the course at this point. Alright, number 6. That is the right answer, though I do know that for sure. C was the right answer. Okay, number 6. We have an equation. It's beautiful. It's a quadratic. And a is a constant, apparently. So that just means number. X equals -3 is a solution. Find the value for a. Well, this is a really weird question, but basically, what do you think they want you to do with the clue x equals -3? Just plug it in, yeah. So let's do that, and then a will be the only unknown thing I have. So if x equals -3, boom, here we go. This now becomes a times -3, which I will write as this. Oh boy. I'm a little concerned about this. We're supposed to solve, which everybody knows is square root. Now what? What's this? Plus and minus 6. Thank you. Okay. Oh boy. Who forgot about the plus and minus part? Yep, that's the problem. So 6 is one of the solutions for that. -6 is the other. Now if I go to solve this, this is kind of weird. You have -3a equals, I'm just going to move everything over for now. -3 plus and minus 6, and then I'm going to go through and divide everything by -3. And it does say, what is a possible value for a? So they know that there's going to be two solutions. I don't think both of yours will be showing up here, though, just one of them. Let's find it. So, for what happened? -3 plus 6 is 3, divided by -3 gives me -1. Boom, done. Do I need to bother going to get the other one? No. Although if I was paranoid, maybe I would, just to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. Okay. Moving along. There's a little line graph. We have some scatter plot points that are plotted, and then they have what's called a linear regression, a line of best fit that they drew through it. And what are we working with here? It's the distance from the sun compared to the densities of the planetoids. Don't have any idea what that means. Something in space. All right, here we go. According to the scatter plot, which of the following statements is true about the relationship between the planetoid's distance from the sun compared to the density? Now, guys, just look what's happening. As you increase your distance from the sun, what's happening to the density numbers? It's coming down. So is there a statement that says that in much smarter people terms than what I just said? Planetoids that have more distance from the sun have lesser densities. Check. Now, as a paranoid test taker myself, I might continue to read through the options. But for us, we're good. Moving on. An astronomer discovered a new planetoid with a 1.2 AU from the sun. Cool. According to the, now careful here, according to the line of best fit. So you have to look at the line and not the scatter plot here. They want to know the density of the planetoid. Okay. So 1.2 is right here. Follow it up. Don't bother looking for scatter plot points. Find the line and then try to follow it back over and see which answer. And this is annoying because you got to flip or like look at the other page. At least it's on the front side and the back side. But it's, I'm thinking 4.6 is the only option that looks appropriate for that one. So that was just straight reading the graph. Nothing tricky there. These questions used to be on what were called a science test on the ACT. They would have their own section and therefore their own score, but then eventually the educational community decided this is really just a math question. It's data interpretation, so I used to like the science test a lot. It was fun. All right, based on the equation above, what is the value of ax plus b? So we've talked about this before, where they ask you something weird, like what's ax plus b? That means in your math manipulation, at some point, you're going to get ax plus b isolated on one side. So let's try to do that. So there's, the 6 needs to take a hike. Let's add the 6 over. So you have 9ax, plus 9b, I think we're almost there, equals 27. So if I wanted this to look like ax plus b, could we just divide everything by a 9? Just make sure you're doing it everywhere. So you tell me, what is ax plus b? It's 3. The answer is 3. I like those questions because I'm a real big fan of algebraic manipulation, and apparently the SAT is as well. It's actually a very important skill for kids to move on in math, is how well can you manipulate your algebra. And obviously time is of the essence on this test, and apparently my pen doesn't care because it's not going to work. All right, let's try to get the next 2 done. We'll call it good. All right, Lonnie spent 15% of her 8-hour workday in meetings. And they underline this to kind of help you out, guys. How many minutes of her workday did she spend in meetings? So let's start by figuring out 15% of our 8-hour workday, and then realize how we're going to change that to minutes. So 15% is 0.15. You can multiply it by 8. And then you're going to get some answer. But then to change it to minutes, you got to multiply by 60, right? 60 minutes in an hour. They do expect you to know that. So those of you who are big fans of dimensional analysis, you could have set that up with dimensional analysis instead. But you know, you all know how time works. I didn't type this in stages, but I got 72. Could someone confirm that? Yeah. Cool, cool. All right. And then, oh, words. But it's okay, we got this. So they're asking me to set up a system of equations. The first thing you want to identify is that the variables are what you think they are. So at the very end here, it says the standard edition games are called S, and the collector's edition games are called C. So that's kind of what I was thinking, but just to check. The box for a standard edition has a volume of 20 cubic inches, and a box for a collector's edition has 30 cubic inches. So 20 was for the standard and 30 for the collectors. So, and a total volume of 1870 is the rest of that equation. So one of our equations should look like that. So I can knock out C. That's garbage. All right, keep reading. There's some other clue here. It's something about 75. Okay. The company receives an order for 75 copies of the game. So the total between the games is 75. And this is where kids get sad because they're like, I don't see that anywhere. Well, guys, there's nothing stopping you from rearranging this equation. Like, for instance, in A, if they solved for C, won't you just subtract the S over here? I think we're done. I think it's A. So that really wasn't a bad question. They just did something weird by manipulating the equation for no apparent reason whatsoever. All right. Well, thank you, SAT. That was fun. All right, guys. We'll tap out for today. After school today, we're going to continue on. We have quite a bit of this test left. I don't think we'll get through it by the end of after school, but maybe. And then I'm still going to be here Friday morning and after school. Okay. And I'll post everything as always.